Let's jump into another deep dive. And today we're going to be talking about, the fallout from that Man U versus Chelsea match.
Oh, yeah.
But
that was a weird one.
It was a weird one, and we've
Yeah.
got a really interesting source to break it down.
Okay.
This Guardian piece
All right.
we're looking at is anything BUT your typical match report.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so it's got me thinking about way more than just like the final score.
Interesting. So what's got you so hooked?
Look,
What's
yeah.
different about this one?
For me, it's that the author uses this like seemingly dull match to launch into these huge questions about where football's going next.
Huh.
You know, it's about Man U and Chelsea, sure,
Right.
but it's also about the whole evolution of the sport.
Okay.
Like even some philosophical stuff
Wow.
that really makes you think.
All right. I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Okay, so right off the bat,
Yeah.
the author hits us with this almost existential question.
Okay.
What exactly happened?
Literally what happened.
No.
It was a 0-0 draw.
I know, right? And then he goes on to describe the game as
Yeah.
meandering, even surreally tedious at points.
That's a bold statement considering how electric Old Trafford usually is.
Right, it's wild.
Yeah.
Considering, that energy at Old Trafford.
So what's the author getting at?
Well, I think that unexpected boredom is actually his jumping off point.
Okay.
Like he's asking, can boredom actually be part of football's beauty?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thought. He even name drops Jorge Valdano
Oh, yeah.
and his infamous shit on a stick quote about the English game.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know,
Right.
that was actually meant as a backhanded compliment.
Yeah. About the raw energy you'd see on the pitch.
Exactly. So I think that ties into what we're saying.
Okay, I'm following. So you're thinking maybe what was missing from this match wasn't necessarily the goals or the flashy plays, but that raw, unbridled energy. Even if it's a bit messy, that chaos is part of what makes it exciting.
Exactly. Like, what if we've overcorrected in our pursuit of tactical perfection?
Interesting point. Have we sanitized the game too much?
Like, have we traded shit on a stick for something more polished but maybe less soulful?
Okay, whoa, deep thoughts already.
I know, right?
And speaking of things feeling a bit off, the report hones in on Casemiro
Oh, yeah.
and his performance, or lack thereof.
Yeah.
The author compares him to, and I quote, a middle-aged man trying to play tennis with someone 20 years younger. Ouch.
It's got to sting a little bit.
It's brutal, but it highlights something we're seeing more and more. Even legendary players can't outrun Father Time.
It's true.
Casemiro was visibly struggling to keep up with the pace.
Yeah.
Especially in midfield.
Yeah, he was.
There were a few times where he was just outmaneuvered.
Yeah.
And his passing, usually so precise, was just a bit off.
It makes you think about this changing of the guard happening in football right now. You've got these aging stars trying to hold on, and then this wave of young, insanely talented players is coming in hot.
It's an interesting time for the sport. And it's not just about talent either.
Right.
It's about economics.
Oh, yeah.
The financial power shifts in the Premier League are impossible to ignore.
You can't ignore that.
Look at Chelsea dropping $500 million on these young phenoms, basically creating a super team overnight.
Which brings us to another contrast the author highlights. Chelsea's spending spree versus Man U's more, shall we say, eclectic squad.
Oh, I like that word choice.
He calls Man U's roster a collection of random footballers, which, I'll be honest, made me laugh out loud.
I mean, it's harsh, but kind of true.
Right. It really begs the question, are these two clubs taking wildly different approaches to building a successful team?
I think so. And it comes down to their strategies, right?
It feels like Chelsea's got this very clear strategy. Buy the best, dominate the league.
The author even calls it successful vampirism.
That is such a good way to put it.
It really is. Man U, on the other hand, he accuses them of a mania of unsustainable overspend.
So they're spending a ton.
Yeah.
But is there a plan?
Right. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because he goes beyond just the usual football analysis.
Okay.
He starts talking about late-stage capitalism, the commodification of the sport.
Wow.
It gets pretty deep.
So you, the listener, get ready, because this is where we're going to go beyond the X's and O's and into some seriously mind-bending territory.
Buckle up.
Stick with us.
This is where it gets good.
It's about to get philosophical up in here.
I think what's really striking here is how the author links what happened on the pitch, or actually what didn't happen on the pitch, to these massive societal forces.
Yeah.
He actually uses the phrase,
I remember that,
the death football of late-stage capitalism, to describe the match.
Wow.
Which might sound a bit over the top.
Yeah.
But I think he's onto something.
I was actually thinking the same thing. This deep dive is really pushing us to consider how football reflects the world around us.
Definitely.
And the author argues that football, like so many things, has become commodified.
Yeah.
It's all about profits, branding, spectacle, and maybe we've lost sight of what truly matters.
It makes you wonder what DO fans really want these days.
Right.
Are we satisfied with just seeing a bunch of expensive players in fancy kits?
Yeah.
Or is there a deeper yearning for something more? A sense of identity, a connection to the club's history, a style of play that reflects our values.
And if it's just about winning at all costs, where's the joy in that?
Exactly.
And that's where this deep dive gets really pointed.
Okay.
The author actually questions what Man U is even selling to fans right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it just brand recognition and what he calls free-floating energy?
I mean, that feels like a pretty harsh critique.
It is.
But I think it's a valid question, because if a club loses its sense of purpose, thing, as the author puts it, what are they left with?
Yeah.
Just a shell of a team going through the motions, existing solely to make money.
And that brings us back to Casemiro.
Yeah.
If even a world-class player like him looks lost in this system,
it
really raises questions about Man U's direction.
Yeah.
They've spent a fortune to assemble this puzzle of talented players, but they can't seem to figure out how to fit the pieces together.
Exactly. And the contrast with Chelsea becomes even sharper here.
Oh, yeah.
Chelsea's approach might be what the author calls successful vampirism.
Right.
But at least they seem to have a vision, a plan for what they're building.
Okay, so we've covered some pretty heavy stuff here.
Yeah, we have.
But this deep dive isn't all doom and gloom.
No.
There's some hilarious moments, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, did you see Van Nistelrooy's reaction to that Man U goal?
Oh, absolutely.
I swear the man was practically levitating in his overcoat.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And that description of Enzo Maresca's weirdly half celebration after Chelsea scored had me cracking up.
It's those little details that make this deep dive so engaging, right?
Yeah. It's not just dry analysis. It's like we're right there in the stadium experiencing the game alongside the author.
It reminds us that at its heart, football is still a game.
Totally.
It's supposed to be fun, unpredictable.
Right.
And those moments of humor, even in a frustrating match, those are what make it so special.
It's true. And sometimes I think we get so caught up in the tactics,
the transfer rumors,
all that we forget to just enjoy the ride.
Exactly. So you, the listener.
Yes, listener.
I hope you're taking note of these little moments too.
Yeah.
The Van Nistelrooy fist pump.
Yeah.
The Maresca half celebration.
Yeah.
Those are the things that make football so wonderfully human.
So we've gone from this seemingly boring draw.
I know, right?
To a conversation about capitalism and the existential crisis of Man Uber.
It's quite the journey.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Where do you think this deep dive leaves us?
That's a good question.
What are the key takeaways for you, listener?
Well, I think the first takeaway is that sometimes the most insightful analysis comes from the most unexpected places.
I agree.
Who knew that a match report about a goalless draw could spark such a thought-provoking discussion about the state of football?
Seriously. It just shows that you can find meaning and depth even in the most mundane corners of the sport.
Absolutely.
And the second takeaway, I think, is that football is more than just a game.
Oh, for sure.
It's a reflection of our society, our values, our anxieties even.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder that we need to find a way to reclaim that pure joy and passion that drew us to the sport in the first place.
I love that. And finally, I think this deep dive encourages us to ask some tough questions about the clubs we support.
Yeah. What about our own clubs?
What are their values?
Yeah.
What is their thing? And are they living up to the ideals that we hold dear as fans?
And that, my friend, brings us to the million-dollar question. What is Man U's thing? What are they even striving for at this point?
Yeah, it really does feel like Man U are at a crossroads right now.
Yeah.
They've got the history, the resources, the passionate fan base.
Yeah.
But something just feels off, like we've been talking about in this deep dive.
Yeah, like they're adrift. They're searching for an anchor.
Yeah, clinging to past glories isn't really a strategy.
It's not.
But neither is throwing endless money at the problem.
Right. Like the authors suggest.
Yeah. There has to be that sweet spot where tradition meets innovation.
Yeah.
Where you stay true to your roots,
yes.
but also adapt to the modern game.
Finding that sweet spot, that's the key. That's what separates the great clubs from the rest.
Absolutely.
And for Man U, it starts with figuring out what success actually means to them.
Right. Like, what is success for Man U? Is it winning every single trophy? Developing young players? Playing a certain style that gets the fans going? I think those are the questions everyone at the club needs to be asking.
From the owners to the manager.
Yeah, from the Glazers to Ten Hag, they all need to be on the same page.
Because until they have a clear answer, until they find their thing, as the author puts it,
right,
it's just going to feel like they're going through the motions.
Exactly.
You know, this deep dive has got me thinking about something.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It's something beyond just Man U.
Okay.
What about the clubs you support? What are their values? What's their thing?
That's a good point.
And are they living up to what you, as a fan, expect from them?
I love that you're bringing it back to the listener, because at the end of the day, we choose to support clubs that represent something, clubs that embody certain values.
It's about more than just wins and losses.
Absolutely.
This deep dive's a great reminder to hold our clubs accountable.
Yeah.
To ask those tough questions and make sure they're staying true to what we believe in.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the game.
Oh, definitely.
The wins and losses.
Goals.
Yeah. But this deep dive challenges us to think about the bigger picture.
Exactly.
To think about what we want from the sport and from the clubs we support.
What a deep dive.
Yeah.
We started with a seemingly boring match.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how we got here.
And ended up talking about everything from capitalism to the very soul of football.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
I know, right?
They always take us to unexpected places.
I hope this has given you, our listener, plenty to think about.
Yeah, lots to ponder.
What makes a club truly great?
Good question.
What are the values that matter most in this sport?
And what is that thing?
That thing.
That gives your club its purpose.
And its identity.
We'll leave you with those questions.
Until next time.